Hi Steve, thanks for a really brilliant talk today about nearly wild exploration. I think it's such a simple concept but it could have such a powerful effect. You talked about life being a journey, and sometimes we lose nature in that. What do you mean by that?
I think that quite simply we've built nature out of our lives. And I think that's partly happening on an individual level. I think it's happening on a community level, and I think it's happening from the organisations. I'll give you a couple of very simple examples. We will go to the shops, but if there's mud on the ground, then we'll walk round it and we'll find a bit that's got tarmac. We don't interact with the natural world, and the organisations, we're building things away from people. Another simple example, visitor centres. Why do we build visitor centres out in the middle of the countryside? Why don't we build visitor centres for the countryside in the middle of the towns so that people can go to them and find out what they can learn to go to the countryside?
Yeah.
So I think we're building nature away from people rather than building it into our daily lives.
Well, I think you said some really powerful things about communicating with people in a language they understand, not a language we're used to using. So, and I think we talk about things like biodiversity and ecosystem services, and I feel that's gobbledygook. How can we get over that?
I think quite simply, the biggest thing with nearly wild exploration is encouraging people to observe and explore. And if people are out observing and exploring, they'll be asking questions. So automatically it's framed in their language. And the online portal that we've been building is a way of bringing together all the different opportunities into one place so people can find it. Again, if they're asking questions, we start to see the questions they're asking. So we're responding our answers are responding in the same language. So it's quite subtle, but we start to use the language of the buyer of the natural world instead of the people who are promoting it and trying to sell it to people.
Okay, I've got a slightly challenging question for you here then. You talked about OS maps. Yeah. Tell me why it's important that people know what an OS map is. Yeah. And tell us what an OS map is, please.
Okay, so Ordnance Survey map is a detailed map of every area in the UK. And why is it important? Well, a quote from somebody who said to me they didn't know what one was. I said, so how do you know where you can go? And they said, well, I don't. And I'm actually scared to go most places. But sometimes I'll walk along the road until I see a sign, and then I'll go where the sign tells me I'm allowed. And I said, but how do you get anywhere? She said, I just use a road map or Google. And the problem was that actually she had no idea how to find the really interesting things that were around her. And people were telling her about places nearby. She didn't have any idea where they were. So it was useless information and it meant nothing to her. So again, it had kind of separated her from the opportunities that were out there. So the simple if you like, the simple experience of learning what an OS map was and how to use it has already changed her lifestyle, and she's already now going walking a lot more, observing a lot more, and consequently getting a lot more involved in her local area.
Yes, I totally agree, because I must admit I do know what an OS map is and I can read one, but I now use SatNav to come to this conference today.
Yes. And
as I was being told to go onto the M20 and the M2 and then back onto the M20, I had no clue whether I was being told something that was sensible or something that was mad. That technology, SatNav technology, is further distancing ourselves from an understanding of what geography is.
Yes.
Anyway, so what would you want people to do next to get really involved with nearly wild exploration?
Okay, so the thing that we'd really like at the moment is as many people who help others learn more about the natural world put themselves down as a listing on the portal. It's that simple. So you might be an individual who runs occasional guided walks, you might have a little micro business that teaches people about sheep farming, or you might be a large organisation that runs lots of events and activities and has lots of things going on. Whatever the scale, the more people that can list on that portal, the more useful it's going to be for the user to then find things. Once we've got a reasonable number of listings, then we can start to promote it to the wider public as a great way of them finding what's near them, what they can do with help, support and guidance. So it's not just about putting on the local river where you can build a den, it's about here are the people that can help you on your journey of exploring the natural world.
Yeah, and I understand you're at Countryfile Live this next few days.
Yeah.
Or was it next week?
That's right, yeah.
So if anyone's going to Countryfile Live, come and find you.
Absolutely, we'd love to see people. We're going to be there with some of the organisations we've been partnering with, including the National Association for AMBs, and I would really love for people to come along, talk to us, find out more about it, and go away and put on a listing. Doesn't matter whether you live in the middle of the city or in the middle of nowhere in the countryside, or you could say in the middle of nowhere in the city or in the middle of the centre of everything in the countryside, whichever way your perception is. We would love you to put a listing up of what you can offer people, help them learn more about the natural world. Let's build nature back into our lives.
Brilliant. Thanks for a brilliant talk, and good luck with Nearly Wild exploration.
Thanks very much.